Hey, Bessie, let me ask you something. Have you ever caught yourself stuck in a sentence like, this is just how I am? People like me don't get a happy ending. Or, I always mess things up in the end. Or, this is just how my life is. It will never be better. Well, here's what you need to know, friend. That's not fact. That's a story. And stories can be rewritten. I hope you know, or you're going to know, that you are the narrator of your own life. You are not the pain, the diagnosis, the past, the breakdown, the poor choice, the ex, the whatever. You, bestie, can reauthor your life chapter by chapter, starting now. And wouldn't now be the right time? So let's talk about why this is important. Your narrative equals your identity, and your identity drives everything: your behaviors, your beliefs, your expectations, even what your brain is scanning for, because it just starts running a program. Positive psychology research asserts that people with a strong and hopeful narrative experience higher levels of resilience, optimism, motivation, and well being. I'm going to say that again because I really want you to get this. This is what positive psychology research says, that people with a strong, hopeful narrative, experience higher levels of resilience, optimism, motivation, and well being. I don't know about you, but I would like all of those. So those people don't just cope, they don't just get through, they create. They create that strong, hopeful narrative. But when we allow our stories to be shaped by pain, trauma, limiting beliefs, which also then lead to limiting decisions, they keep us trapped in the past that doesn't match our future. We allow the past to then dictate what the future is going to be like. And most of the time, what we create really isn't all that beautiful. So, when left unchecked, these beliefs, this pain, this trauma, our stories teach us to settle. They teach us to expect less, to hope for nothing, to believe that bad things are going to happen or keep happening. Here's the thing though, you don't have to keep rereading or rewriting the same chapter. You can write a new one filled with grace, growth, purpose, exactly who you know yourself to be. You can do that. Wouldn't you want to? Yeah. So let's talk a little bit more about what this concept is, this authoring our story. So there's so many pieces that move into this. So there's this thing called a narrative identity, which means that we build meaning from life by creating these internalized, so internal inside us stories, some empowering and some limiting. So this identity, this narrative, this story that we create can either empower us or limit us. Then you've heard me talk about this so much, that our unconscious mind is also just running programs. And we can have roots in our unconscious mind to these stories that we keep telling ourselves, like, it will always be this way. It will never change. My life will never be better. This will happen to me again. I just attract the wrong kind of people. And these emotions and beliefs also shape our internal narratives. Then, another component to this is the language that we use. I can't tell you how often I tell clients the language that they're using is putting them in a disempowered place. It's putting them in a victim stance where something happened to you that you can never change, that you're stuck, this stuck type language. I did a podcast on unstuck yourself. I'll link it in the show notes. What happens is this language that we use creates these thought patterns. These thought patterns become unconscious programs, and these programs really are authoring, storying our life. Well, guess what? You can change the program, which means that you can change the result. For example, just for the power of language, whenever I'm angry about something and I'm like, man, I'm so peeved about that. And I'm smiling as I'm saying it because I think the word peeved is hilarious. I don't know. It's like the way that it sounds. Peeved. I'm so peeved. I suddenly feel very different about whatever that situation is, rather than I'm angry, I'm annoyed, I'm frustrated. No, I'm just peeved. No, man, I'm peeved. And I just can't have the same feeling because I have a different emotion, a different meaning associated with that word. Now, what I love about positive psychology is it doesn't focus on what's wrong, it focuses on what's strong. So, positive psychology asks questions like, what makes life worth living? How can we cultivate meaning, strength, joy, even after hard things? Positive psychology is pointing our brain, well, to the positive. So there's this theory called hope theory that was crafted by Snyder. And it's this little equation that goes something like this: hope equals goals plus agency plus pathways. Now, I'll explain this. So, very in short, before I expound on it, when we believe that we can set a goal, we have hope for that we have the power to pursue it, and that we can find ways around obstacles, we flourish. Again, hope equals goals plus agency plus pathways. So I'm going to say that short little sentence again because I really want you to get this. When we believe we can set a goal, have the power to pursue it, and find ways around obstacles, we flourished. Hope, in and of itself, which by the way is a part of authoring your story, is not just this vague feeling, it's actually a cognitive motivational construct. Now, those are just big words for how we think in a way that moves us. It involves the three things that I listed above. So the first being goals. Goals are the desired outcomes that provide direction. Sometimes these are long, short, concrete, or more abstract. But these goals give life structure, meaning, motivation. So goals, just putting it back into the context, goals, they move us in a direction. Then we have agency thinking, which is this belief that you can initiate and sustain movement toward your goals. This is that internal, I can do this this voice. It's tied to self-efficacy and resilience. So we've got goals. I have a direction I want to go. I've got agency. I trust myself. I believe I can do this. Take initiative. I can move towards my goal. And then pathways thinking. This is the belief that you can generate workable routes towards your goals, even when barriers arise. So, in some ways, this is a part of believing in yourself. High hope individuals think flexibly and creatively. They don't give up when the plan doesn't work. The first plan, maybe the third plan. They don't give up when the first plan doesn't work. They adapt. All right, so let me bring that back. Hope equals goals plus agency plus pathways. Hope equals I have a direction I'm going, I can take action on it, and no matter what obstacles are in my way, I will figure it out. All that is simply is a way to reframe. We thrive, friends, not because we have this perfect past, not because we figured it out, but because we figured out how to reframe it. We figured out how to have hope when the situation seemed hopeless, that we rewrote the story to have hope. I remember when I was going through my infertility journey, which in some ways it's like yes, I've had a beautiful, perfect, squishiest little chunkums of a little boy, and I, I still I still have this like slight hope someday, maybe miraculously, I will get pregnant without all the drugs. Neither here nor there, really, whether it happens or doesn't. But I still have hope for that. But in my darkest of dark, broken moments, I refused to be hopeless. I refused it. I would not allow it because I want to come back to this. I had a goal that was to my first goal was to become a mother, and my daughter did that in my life, and I'm so grateful. So my second goal, though, while I'm focused on infertility, my second goal was to carry a baby to term. And then I had to take some action, some movement on that. I had to believe that when doctors and science said no, that there was a way. That no matter the loss of all of my embryos on my first IVF because they didn't make it. No matter the miscarriage that I had, no matter the struggle, that I had to believe that I could do it. That I could face opposition, my pathways thinking, and I could figure out routes around it to get to my goals. This was not a perfectly straight path to motherhood. This was not a perfectly straight path to carrying a baby. But what I did was I allowed hope to stay in me. I allowed to believe in a goal, to believe that I could take action on my goal, and then believe that I could generate the outcome no matter what barriers arose. Can you see, friend, how if you were to author your story through this idea of hope concept, which is what that's called, the hope concept theory, that if you were to author your story around this, that you might see your story different no matter what barrier you're facing today? Again, I don't know about you, but that's what I want my life to be full of. So, let's talk about how you reauthor your life. So, first of all, you have to identify the old script. Well, how do you do that? You ask yourself, what limiting story am I stuck in? What patterns, which could be thinking patterns or behavioral patterns, what patterns keep repeating? And then, where did this script originate? I love this, the second part of this question. Is it even mine? Sometimes we run scripts and stories that were handed down to us, that we keep reading the book that we never wrote in the first place. As you're thinking about this, as you're identifying the script, you want to look for these internal languaging of stuckness. I always, I never, this is just who I am. Most of this language has negative feelings attached to it. It's like, you want to figure it out, just go in search of the negative feelings. Now, something that I love, and I just want to flip this on you. While you're identifying the old script, you may see, there we go, my brain was taking a second to catch up with me. You may see these challenges that you've had in your life. But if you already want to start to flip this script after you've identified it, you ask yourself, what past challenge have I already overcome that reveals my strength? You see, friend, in order to get through any challenge, any struggle, any barrier, any obstacle, anything in your way, there was something in you, internal to you, that helped you get through it. Now, you've identified the old script, and then you need to uncover the baggage beneath it. So, this is something for you to be aware of, is that most unhelpful stories are powered by unprocessed emotion. Hurtful things happen to us, trauma, pain, people do things intentionally or unintentionally, doesn't matter. But then we get this unprocessed emotion, and you can release these unprocessed emotions through a process called mental and emotional release. You can go back to your inner child, and you can uh, give your child, your inner child, the care that they always needed. But what you need to know is that when you are uncovering the baggage, that you just recognize that your mind has been running a strategy. It's not a flaw. It's not something bad about you. It's just a strategy. So maybe you need to get on the timeline of your own life, find the root of whenever this belief started, this story that you started to author your life around, and remove it. Pull it up, release it, no longer allow it to be there. I love MER. It's one of my favorites because it removes the emotional charge so that the memory no longer drives behavior. It's so powerful. So we have identified the old script, and then we uncover the baggage that's there. And you just ask yourself some good questions about this. And then you have to challenge the inner critic with your inner coach, questioning the truth of the story. Where did I come up with this? Would I believe this about somebody else? Uh, if do I know somebody in my life that is 5 years old and would have this, and let me put this belief on them of like, I'm not good enough. What would you tell a 5-year-old that wasn't you about not being good enough? So you question it, and then you begin to dispute the lie with evidence of your own growth and goodness, how you've changed, how you've grown, how maybe you're not the same person that you were then, or what was said about you has never actually been true. You need to use your internal coach to speak the truth to the part of you that's scared. And sometimes a good friend also helps be a good coach for us. We just have to take in what they're saying. And then there's this technique that's called strength spotting. And what you do is you identify the strength that you use to survive that story, like bravery, creativity, perseverance, wisdom, love, resilience, whatever it is, you identify that strength in that story, and that's what you lean into. I discovered in my own infertility journey what I was really made of: the bravery, the perseverance, the love for myself, the curiosity, the stick-to-itiveness, the strength. There's so much there that I learned about me. And as I found those strengths, I could lean into those strengths because likely it's not the only place that they show up in your life. You just weren't paying attention to it. And like I've said before a bazillion times, because Tony Robbins is my man, I love me some Tony. He says, where your focus goes, your energy flows. And if you look at your story and the only thing that you see in your story is you being a victim to things, is you being subject to the stuff that's happened in your life, well, guess what? That is what you're going to see, and that is who you're going to become. But if you look at the stuff, there's another 4-letter word that I'd like to insert there. If you look at the stuff that you face in your life and you go, okay, I've been through all of this and look what showed up in me. Look who I am. Look who I got through. You begin to direct your focus, your energy to something else, something better, something deeper, something that's causing you, helping you rise up and be who you have always were always created to be. Always. All you have to do is shift the story that you are telling yourself. And friend, you can do that because step 4 involves creating a new story. NLP calls this future pacing. Positive psychology calls this meaning making. Where you start creating the new story of your life. You go, well, in that last chapter, that girl did get beat down real hard. But in this next chapter, she finds something inside of her that could only exist in the face of this pain, that could only exist there. So you can ask yourself some really great questions like, what identity do I want to live now? Who do I want to be now? What values do I want my life to reflect? What story do I believe? Am I creating about who I am becoming? Can you see how, if you were to ask yourself these stories, if you were to begin to re-author your life, how you could have something different than what you have right now? So your new story formula looks a little bit like this. I used to believe blank, but now I know blank. I choose to live as the kind of woman who. I used to believe that I had to be perfect to be loved. But now I know that love isn't earned by performance. It's received in presence. So I love the choose word. I choose to live as the kind of woman who brings her full self to the table. Can you see, friend, how empowering this is? I used to believe I had to be perfect to be loved. By the way, Tony Robbins says, love me some Tony. Love me some Tony. If you have never been to an Unleash the Power Within, I so encourage it. Now, I used to believe that I had to be perfect to be loved. This is where I was going. Tony Robbins says that perfect is the lowest standard because it doesn't exist. I used to believe I had to be perfect to be loved. But now I know love isn't earned by performance. It's received in presence. So I choose to live as the kind of woman who brings her full self to the table. So here's your formula. I'm reiterating to you. I used to believe blank, but now I know blank. So I choose to live as the kind of woman who blank. I hope that wherever you're at, if you're sitting, if you're driving, if you're whatever, if you're driving, pull over, but wherever you are, if you know, man, this is freaking me. I have got to write a new story. I've got to do that today, then what I want you to do is to pause for a moment and write it out. I used to believe blank, but now I know blank. So I choose to live as the kind of woman who blank. Just do it. Now, you need to act like the heroine of your new chapter. You must take action. When you take aligned action today, because tomorrow never comes, so when you take aligned action today, you signal to your unconscious mind, this is who I am now. Even one small step can break the loop. Positive psychology calls this behavioral action. Doing the thing shifts the feeling. Doing the thing shifts the feeling. I went to work out. I didn't want to, but I'm glad I did. Doing the thing shifts the feeling. You must behaviorally activate. You must take action on what it is that you say that you want. You must find what's deeply rooted in you and pull it out. By the way, if you struggle with this, that's what a great coach is for. Now, before I jump into questions, I want to read this poem to you because I think that this poem so focuses on what it means to shift your story. I have this poem actually painted and hung up in my office because I find it to be so powerful. It's by Albert Camus, and he says, "In the midst of hate, I found there was within me an invincible love. In the midst of tears, I found there was within me an invincible smile. In the midst of chaos, I found there was within me an invincible calm. I realized through it all that in the midst of winter, I found there was within me an invincible summer. And that makes me happy, for it says that no matter how hard the world pushes against me, within me, there's something stronger, something better, pushing right back. Friend, you can push back. You can find your invincible summer, your invincible smile, your invincible love that exists within you when you choose today to re-author your story. God, I hope that you do. You need you to. Your friends need you to. Your family needs you to. Your community needs you to. Everyone who comes in contact with you needs you to re-author your story to an empowering one. Because you know what happens when we re-author our story to an empowering one? It empowers others to re-author their story too. And I know that on this side of eternity that we do not always see what happens when we hit that domino and when we re-author our story. But what happens is that domino starts moving and it changes, it shifts those around us. So again, do it for you, do it for the others around you, do it for the people that are going to read your story and say, well, if you can, I can. If you can, I can. And then they do because you did. So I want to ask you some questions. The first one is, what story have I been living in that no longer fits who I'm becoming? What belief, second, what belief or emotion is fueling this story? And where did it begin? Number 3, what strength did I use to survive that chapter? And what does it say about me? Number 4, What would my life look like if I believed something different? And number 5, what bold or simple action could I take today that reflects my new story? Friend, you don't need a new personality. You don't need to become someone else. You just need to stop believing the lie that you are stuck in the old story and that the old story is who you are. You, friend, are worthy of change. You are wired for growth. You are strong enough to choose to write a new chapter. Starting now, starting today. So come join the Besties group. Share the story that you're ready to rewrite because there's an opportunity. Come do that. Message me directly if you're like, I need a breakthrough session. I need a coach. I need to get through this. Because it's time for you, one way or the other, to finally release the old script for good. This is beyond just being the main character. You're the author. Write your next chapter because your next chapter can be your favorite one yet. Bestie, I hope that you hear my heart. I want more for you. I know that there's more for you. I know that the story that you have been telling you that you wrote isn't the one that's serving you. So come along this journey with me. I've had to rewrite my own stories. Come along this journey and truly make your next chapter your favorite one yet.